This episode of the CyberWire is made possible in part by Intrusion. Intrusion plugs the holes in your current security architecture with applied threat intelligence. Intrusion uses machine learning and their proprietary database to make real-time block decisions based on 3 decades of internet history, reputation, and behavior for every single connection, in and out. Do you know who your network is talking to? Learn more at intrusion.com.
Daixin Team claims ransomware attack against AirAsia. DraftKings users suffer credential harvesting and paycard theft. Assessing cyber risk in the U.S. pharmaceutical industry. Killnet claims successes few others can discern. Carole Theriault on digital echo chambers and what's in it for us. Nancy Wang from Forta's Alert Logic discusses how she is helping more young women get into the STEM field and leadership positions. And Google seeks to render Cobalt Strike less useful to threat actors. From the CyberWire studios here at Data Tribe, I'm Trey Hester with your CyberWire summary for Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022. The Daixin Team, a criminal ransomware game that was the subject of a joint CISA and FBI warning last month, has claimed a successful attack on Malaysian carrier AirAsia's networks. The gang claims on their portal, Hacker News Reports, to have stolen personal information associated with 5 million passengers and all of the airline's employees. According to Tech Monitor, quote, the attack is said to have happened on the 11th or 12th of November, and the Daixin Team has shared 2 spreadsheets showing what appears to be personal information from passengers and staff of the airline, including date of birth, country of birth, where the person is from, when employed for employees, and the secret question and answer used to secure accounts. End quote. In their advisory last month, the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and the FBI said that the Daixin Team appeared to base their ransomware on leaked Babak Locker's source code. They also said that the gang has been known for its concentration on the healthcare sector, but clearly this particular group of hoods is branching out. DraftKings users have fallen victim to a hack, the Action Network reported yesterday. Some users reported suspicious bank activity from the online betting platform, such as changed login credentials and spam emails. The company, however, reports no breach of systems. CNBC reported yesterday that the online betting platform has said they've found no evidence of a breach of systems following the hacking reports. The company reports that less than $300,000 of customer funds were affected, and DraftKings co-founder and president for global technology and product, Paul Lieberman, said in a statement, quote, DraftKings is aware that some customers are experiencing irregular activity with their accounts. We currently believe that the login information of these customers was compromised on other websites and then used to access their DraftKings accounts where they use the same login information. End quote. DraftKings says they intend to make whole any customers that were impacted by the hacks. Given that DraftKings thinks customer login credentials were compromised on other sites where they'd been reused, it's worth reflecting on 2 familiar security best practices. First, don't reuse passwords, and second, enable multi-factor authentication where it's available. Moody's Investor Services released a report last week on cyber risks in the pharmaceutical industry. The report says that overall, the cyber risk to the pharmaceutical sector is low. The report details the pharmaceutical industry's systemic risks, labeling them as moderate, largely because of the sector's high profile and the significant potential for consequences of an attack. But cyber risk mitigations done by the industry as a whole keep the overall risk low, despite the moderate severity of systemic risks. Killnet continues its program of nuisance attempts against Western targets of opportunity. The Hacker Auxiliary Group has recently turned its attention to, among others, the British royal family, Computer Weekly reports. These have been the now familiar and largely ineffectual distributed denial-of-service attacks. Killnet made large and baseless claims of success, saying that it hit 3 targets in the UK: Bankers Automated Clearing Service, the London Stock Exchange, and the official website of the Prince of Wales. The group said the royal official site was down, adding, perhaps this is due to the supply of high-precision missiles to Ukraine. Also, Today, all medical institutions, government services, and online services will stop working. No one else sees any signs of such successes. And finally, Cobalt Strike is a legitimate penetration testing toolset, but it's often mentioned in dispatches as one that criminals and state actors abuse against their targets. The security firm Forta, formerly Help Systems, developed Cobalt Strike so users could emulate an attack against their networks in the course of testing for vulnerable software. Unfortunately, since the toolset was introduced 10 years ago, threat actors have been able to abuse it as what Google calls, quote, a robust tool for lateral movement in their victims' networks as part of the second stage payload attack, end quote. Google is seeking to make such abuse more difficult by, quote, releasing to the community a set of open-source Yara rules and their integration as a VirusTotal collection to help the community flag and identify Cobalt Strike's components and its respective versions. Since many threat actors rely on cracked versions of Cobalt Strike to advance their cyber attacks, we hope that by disrupting its use, we can help protect organizations, their employees, and their customers around the globe. The rules focus on detecting versions of the tools being deployed across a system. The pirated versions are, Google explains, usually at least one version behind Fortra's latest version of Cobalt Strike. Screening them out and disabling them, Mountain View hopes, will take Cobalt Strike out of the criminals' hands and return it to legitimate Red Team users where it belongs. Coming up after the break, Carole Theriault discusses digital echo chambers and what's in it for us. And Nancy Wang from Forta's Alert Logic discusses how she's helping more young women get into the STEM field and leadership positions. Stick around.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Strata. With multi-cloud, your apps and identities are distributed, making them hard to manage and secure. Strata takes all of your existing identity systems, integrates them into an identity fabric, a universal way for all your IDPs to work together. Never refactor your apps again. Never get locked into your IDP with one-to-one connectors. Identity orchestration helps you solve your biggest IAM problems, even the messy ones you thought were unsolvable. Bring Strata any IAM use case, like modernizing legacy apps to use passwordless authentication, hot switching between IDPs, or enabling identity operation resiliency. Strata's flexible, lightweight, and distributed architecture software is designed to extend the value of your identity infrastructure, no matter the complexity or scale. Share your time on a discovery call, and Strata will send you custom AirPods Pro. The multi-cloud identity wave is here, and you can ride it with Strata. Ready to learn more? Visit strata.io/cyberwire. That's strata.io/cyberwire. And we thank Strata Identity for sponsoring our show. And now, a word from our sponsor, Barracuda. Right now, everyone is talking about cryptocurrency, and the cyber criminals are hiding in the conversation. Cyber criminals use social engineering loaded with urgency and fear to successfully prey on your company, your employees, and your customers. Spear phishing is just one of 13 types of email threats. Barracuda has identified these 13 types and shows you how you can protect your company, your customers, and your reputation. Find out about the 13 email threat types and Barracuda email protection. Get your free ebook at barracuda.com/cyberwire. And we thank Barracuda for sponsoring our show. Nancy Wang is VP of Technical Product Management at Alert Logic by Help Systems. Nancy is looking to solve the low female employee representation in technical fields like software development, cybersecurity, and technical product management, especially in leadership positions.
When I joined Alert Logic in the R&D team, this was 10 years ago, I was the only female employee at the time out of almost like 200 people. Now looking back, we have way more people in R&D in tech. And then, a lot of like pleasant change around female in leadership roles as well. But if we look at the stats, it's still not to the level that we want to see, right? It's still, you don't see the same amount of female tech employees or tech leaders compared to the male counterpart. So overall, I think the industry is definitely improving, and I've seen a lot more, conference events recognition around female, women in IT, women in technology conference, and then women's alliance groups. Even here at Alert Logic, we have like a women's alliance team that's formed last year, and it's all, a lot of things are thriving. So definitely improved over the years.
What about at events and conferences and things like that? Are you finding a shift in the tone there? Are folks more welcoming?
I think so. It depends on sort of which type of conference that we're talking about, right? Of course, for, specific conference related to tech field, it's sort of slightly less focused around the gender. It's more on the subject matter, on the technical trend and industry focus. But then on some of the recent conference I went to, I spoke at the Women in Tech Texas conference, and I also attended the Women in IT Summit in New York this year. Both are, a lot of focus talking about how do we bridge this gender gap in tech, in cybersecurity. And a lot of people, including myself, are super passionate about it. We are saying what we are doing in our day-to-day lives about mentoring, fellow female employees. What we're trying to do, or brainstorm ideas about how do we even reaching out to the younger generation, and for our next generation to come, this gap, what we want to see and what I want to see is this gap being smaller and smaller. And by the time I have two girls, by the time my girls are entering the workforce, hopefully this gap will not exist.
How far back do you suppose we need to go to get young girls interested and involved and give them a sense that there is a place for them here? Do we begin in elementary school, middle school? Where do you suppose a good place is?
It's interesting you ask. So this one thing I learned, attending this Women in IT conference earlier this year was I learned someone showed me a study result, right? So study shows that the kids in the middle school years are actually the most crucial for them to determine what they can and cannot do in life. So I would say start from young, but then definitely focus on the middle school years. So one of the idea we came up with was kind of from a personal experience as well. Like I spoke at the career day at my older daughter's class. So they are fifth graders, and kids they are not aware like what cybersecurity is about. What do you do as a product manager? So it's crucial to kind of explain the different career paths that entering STEM field can open up to, right? It's not necessarily always sitting at your computer programming. There are so many different career paths one can get into when they enter the technical field and STEM field. So based on that study, we came up with an idea of saying, hey, why don't we, a group of female leaders in the technical field, why don't we offer free in-person and virtual career days for just, not just our kids, for just anybody, right? We offer that up, and we provide this just level of awareness so that we can let the girls know, don't be afraid of trying new things. Be confident. You do not shut the door in front of you before you even, explore the potential.
What are some of the stories that you hear from some of these young women as you talk to them? Is there a bit of realization or a revelation that perhaps this is something they can pursue, or do some of them already have their sights set on it?
Yeah, I definitely got a lot of interest. So in, speaking to my daughter's class, and then I did a similar sort of training and class to the Girl Scout group my older one is in as well. I think it's an interesting field for them, right? They have no idea what cybersecurity is about. They even correlated to kind of some their life experience. Like a lot of girls girls and boys are playing a lot of games now. and they're saying, oh, like some people reaching out to me on this game, that they're strangers. They want to kind of, chat with me. And then I kind of quoted, hey, this is a way of hacking into your lives. And this is like relevant to social engineering. That kind of relationship, it triggers their interest. I hope, I think I definitely see a lot of interested eyes in the audience. And I hope this kind of triggers them to research more later on in their lives and in their study as well.
That's Nancy Wang from Alert Logic.
Our UK correspondent, Carole Theriault, files a report on digital echo chambers and what's in it for us.
So I was thinking about these digital echo chambers of ours. You know how our online media feeds present us each with content, opinions, and ads curated just for us individually. Of course, I can see the benefit for providers like YouTube or Facebook and the like. If a user consumes some content without bouncing out early or immediately starting a new search, chances are that they might like to see something similar. And of course, we know that's how they win. You stay on the site, they boost their ad revenue potential. But the question is, what's in it for us, if anything at all? Recent research and opinion on the topic of echo chambers showed a number of different angles. For instance, I saw that a Harvard Business Review report said that the higher leaders go, the more likely they're to find themselves in an echo chamber, surrounded by people who think like them and agree with them. Problem if you're trying to find a solution to a problem and can only look at it from one perspective. A recent study from New York University says that by many measures, mass polarization is on the rise in the U.S. Americans are more willing to condone violence, less open to relationships that cut across party lines, and are more prone to partisan-motivated reasoning. And the concern is that social media is accelerating this polarization. I'm not an expert, but in my little world, echo chambers have served to make people more certain of their opinions and less tolerant of others, and me included. On some issues, I've been utterly flabbergasted about how other people seem to respond to the same story, like completely perplexed, and sometimes even emotional. But I have to remember that what shaped my opinion was very different to what shaped their opinions. Who knows where we would each be and what positions we would take if we swapped chambers for a beat or three. One research paper suggested that randomly disrupting our feeds with other viewpoints on a topic serves to calm polarity in opinion. But another, focusing on radical echo chambers, said that when a group felt invaded by opposing viewpoints, they undermined or marginalized the invader, suggesting that there might be limited potentials to counter messages to underline radical behaviors in these chambers. Now we've seen Elon Musk, the richest man in the universe and the new owner of Twitter, warning that it is important for the future to have a common digital town square. Others argue no, that this type of polarization actually correlates with increases in inequality and economic decline. So there are a lot of opinions and a lot of research and no answers that I see. But echo chambers seem dangerous to me. What do you think? This was Carole Theriault for the CyberWire.
Developers are responsible for more than ever these days, not just the code they write, but also the containers and cloud infrastructure their apps run on, and the need to do it all without slowing down. That's where Snyk comes in. Snyk is a frictionless security platform that meets developers where they are, finding and fixing vulnerabilities right from the CLI, IDEs, repos, and pipelines. And Snyk integrates seamlessly with AWS offerings like Code Pipeline, EKS, ECR, and more. Deploy on AWS, secure with Snyk. Learn more at snyk.co/cyberwire. That's SNYK.co/cyberwire.
And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. The CyberWire podcast is a production of N2K Networks and proudly produced in Maryland out of the startup studios of DataTribe, where they're co-building the next generation of cybersecurity teams and technology. Our amazing CyberWire team is Elliot Peltzman, Brandon Karp, Eliana White, Prue Prakash, Liz Irvin, Rachel Gelfin, Tim Nodar, Joe Kerrigan, Carole Theriault, Maria Vermasis, Ben Yellen, Nick Valecki, Gina Johnson, Bennett Moe, Catherine Murphy, Janine Daly, Chris Russell, John Petrick, Jennifer Iben, Rick Howard, Peter Kilpie, Simone Petrella, and I'm Trey Hester, filling in for Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Looking for more depth in your cybersecurity content? Subscribe to CyberWire Pro and get actionable reporting, trends, analysis, and insight on global events occurring in the industry. CyberWire Pro offers 5 tailored briefings to help you focus in on your area of security specialty, so you can dive right into the news and stories that interest you most. Plus, get uninterrupted ad-free access to all of our public podcasts, as well as our exclusive CyberWire Pro podcast. Visit thecyberwire.com/pro to subscribe today.